Would you date somebody like Alexandra or Casio Cortez? Let me know in the comment sections below. Welcome to the Daddy Dating Advice channel, where we help men understand the world, current issues, have a successful, happy life, and overcome problems. Today, with Cortez, I'm going to try not to focus too much on her or the quote unquote political aspect of all this. But there's a couple things that I think need to be said that really haven't been said regarding her, and she's a public figure. She brings a lot of drama into the world of Twitter and in politics. And a lot of people seem to focus on her as the new generation of women and feminists, and the, what we should aspire to, what you should care about. So an awful lot of women think that you should be dating or want to possibly marry or think that women should be like Cortez. First off, I want to say that, there is a difference between a bar girl and a bartender. Now, we're going to get into the juicy tidbits of Cortez and who she is and what kind of person we're dealing with, and who, if you should date somebody like this. But what's the difference between this? Because understanding if somebody cares about their job and cares about performing well, it's the exact same thing in a marriage. If you're going to marry a woman or date somebody, does she care about being a good girlfriend and or a wife? Does she actually understand her responsibilities? And does she take those responsibilities seriously? Does she actually care about her performance? Of course, you have to perform. You have to bring the money as a man. You have to, be nice, be kind, bring enough money, be well spoken enough. You have to look the part, dress the part, have the right social status, have enough fame. You have to check all the boxes. And again, women are far more picky than men, far more picky. But let's talk about that. They say, she is the youngest ever representative. Of course, they focus on age. And if you don't know, Cortez is a socialist with, and that's very significant. It's not an exaggeration. It's not me or anybody else attempting to be, uh, quote unquote problematic or insult her. She was in league with Bernie Sanders, and they openly talked about being socialist. Now, if you want to look into that, please do, and understand what kind of person would want to be such a terrible political person. Anyways, they say the youngest ever. They focus on age because then you can get rid of the older people, or the people who have any wisdom or any experience, and you can focus on who's younger and empowering them and using that younger person, for political ends. This person was a bartender. Alexandra was a bartender. She really was a bar girl. We're about to talk about that. Says that we know because she was mixing margaritas while raising the funds for the political campaign, and only quit when she decided to run for political office. That's not really true. Let's talk about the first point here. Mixing margaritas. From how she speaks, maybe it does have some experience in a bar. I'm sure that she can talk to people and socialize. I'm sure that she can identify what people want and what people have ordered. But does she actually know the differences? Most bars serve beer. Is she able to actually remember the different types of beer and the different quantities? Could Cortez actually remember, what people had actually ordered? And could she actually explain and tell you the differences? And I'm not talking about some upscale place with, all kinds of different wines and whiskeys of different ages. And there is quite a bit of complexity in regards to alcohol in a bar. And again, we're about to get to the juicy tidbits of dating here, but I want to talk about this because it's obvious that Alexandra was more of a bar girl. She just took orders and she just served out the alcohol. She took orders and she, she wasn't actually mixing. I mean, please stop with the lie. Let me know, how many margaritas did she actually mix? How many of these did she mix? And did she mix it? Margaritas are like the easiest thing to do. It's just some lime juice and some alcohol, some tequila and some salt on the rim, if they even bothered to do that, or some salt and sugar on the rim. Is that about the most complex thing that she could make? There's all kinds of different complex drinks. People used to talk about Cosmos and different mixed beverages. But can she mix any of these things? Does she have the? Was she even decent at it? Was she? And again, can she tell you? Getting again, I doubt that she worked at a really high end affair with really high end whiskeys and wines. But could she tell you the differences between like lager, and ale, and mead, and different types of beer? I mean, things that are fairly common. I'm not even talking about porter over here, or the different kinds of rums. And there's a whole world in regards to alcohol. But again, getting back, she's a bar girl. And again, I bring up this point because there's somebody who I made this comment, and Brad Pruitt, shout out to you. He was grateful that I'd made this point because he's a bartender. He's a real bartender. And this is actually a profession. It does take some skill for somebody to mix a beverage with the correct amount of alcohol. You have to know what is its proof, what is the alcohol content of that beverage. You know, it could be 20%. You use mixers to get you, the right amount of alcohol and the right taste. You have to use the correct amount of additions of sugar or sugar fruit syrups or fruit juice and different additives to get to the right flavor and the right blend. And it's actually, takes an amount of skill, an amount of talent to actually be a real bartender. I highly doubt that Alexandra has this level of intelligence, this level of ability. I think, and a lot of people who are bartenders, I've heard their voices, and that's one point I wanted to make here, is because the career of a bartender has been spat upon or stepped on or disregarded because, this kind of person obviously isn't this. And there's pictures out there of her just being a party girl or her doing crazy stuff like on a college bar scene. She acted like, she's more of a party girl than a bartender. She's more of a waitress. It's obvious throughout from the scenes and the pictures and the things that we know. But again, they continue on with this narrative. And again, some people act as if you should never talk about this, or somehow she should be respected as a bar girl, which this is ridiculous. And again, the bar girl thing is very common as well. Yes, people have to be waitresses and be friendly and be cute and be kind. But we're about to talk about that because that is an important part of this discussion. That's an important part of this discussion. If you're serving beer in that type of environment, you want somebody who's attractive, somebody who is friendly, somebody who can, who's perhaps very good at being talkative, or very good at being charismatic, and of course can remember orders, simple things like that. But this is an article again from thestylistco.uk, and she says that she was proud of being a bartender. She thought it was important. And she started talking about politics with certain people. And maybe she got connections this way. And she's very open about being a socialist. But let's continue. They said, and I wanted to bring up this story because you're only fed tidbits of information. You're not told the whole story of Cortez, Alexandria Cortez. Here's an article from Jezebel.com. Again, a very feminist website. This is, their type of platform where they're spreading their information. So they say she walked off the job when he tried to rank and reward her colleagues based on how hot he decided they were. So, I don't know how long she was a bartender, but she obviously wasn't a bartender for very long. Because this is obvious in any place. And again, she's a feminist. She thinks as a woman she's a victim. Of course, if you're pretty enough and attractive enough to be a model or a high-end escort, or these women when they're 18, 19, 20 to even up to 25, they're going out here and selling themselves to really rich men, older men, etc., etc. They don't scream sexism when they get a lot of the benefits. But obviously Cortez was not attractive enough to compete with the rest of her bar girl colleagues. She was not attractive or friendly enough. Some might say she was a feminist, she had respect for herself. She wouldn't allow herself to be ranked, quote unquote. I have to tell you that this is a privilege. when you go to a public job like a cashier or something that's more in the as a social service where you deal with customers face to face and they see you, you don't get to, most of the time a man isn't doesn't get a job or isn't promoted as a job just because he's pretty. Yes, there's pretty privilege a little bit for men, but for women, you can get a job just because you're pretty. And this is everybody knows this. Everybody sees this. And people throw money at tips if you're a waitress or a cashier. Women are just thrown money. Men, just for the opportunity to speak to them, to be friendly to them, to flirt, and possibly go out on a date and even offer women more money. That's considered normal. That's considered expected. If you're flirting with a woman and you're not buying her a drink at the bar or not offering her money, a lot of women consider that an insult, and a lot of men actually think that there's something wrong with you. It's like you tried to have a conversation with a woman at the bar and you didn't buy her a drink. There must be something wrong with you. And again, we're going to jump around this bar talk and this bar scene because this is where a lot of people engage. The bar scenes are still kind of dying down, but in college towns and college cities, around universities and stuff, this is where people socialize. This is where a lot of them are having dating and having casual fun, the Netflix and chills of the world. And this is where a lot of people want to be. This is why people move to party cities. I'm not going to do that. A lot of people would. And if you still want to, have that experience in your life, that's one reason a lot of people go to college. And also a lot of people drop out of college because they're not serious about college. They really go to college because they want to be in the party scene. They want to have some fun. But again, Cortez claims that she was a victim. She claims that, her boss was a pig. Well, it doesn't, if her boss was actually trying to actually date or her colleagues, which, if that's something they want to do, I think that's perfectly fine. But if her boss would have actually tried to get her to do any favors, if you know what I mean by favors, that would have been written about. They would have talked about that. But I guess Cortez wasn't pretty enough. Her boss didn't ask her for any favors under the table, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink. So, Cortez, to me, this is unbelievable or absolutely ridiculous. She quit her job because other people were being quote unquote ranked on beauty. So again, she wasn't attractive enough or friendly enough or courteous enough. She obviously doesn't really have much of a feminine voice or doesn't really act particularly feminine. And again, her hair isn't terribly short, but it's not terribly long either, and all kinds of factors. So she wasn't getting the benefits that she wanted. That's why she quit her job. And somehow, again, they act as if there was this huge jump in her career from bar girl straight to Congress. How did she get this type of power? How was she as a woman given this type of affluence? Again, we know that she got famous on Twitter. We know that she got famous on Twitter. And we know that helped her launch her to get votes. How did she get so popular on Twitter? And again, she talks about it as A/B testing, which is something as you men need to know to build up your careers. Figure out what people want to hear. You test something, you put out different options, and you figure out what people like and what people dislike. Maybe Cortez at least has enough basic knowledge to at least do that. But she's not friendly, and she's not charismatic. She's not particularly attractive. And she worked here. It talks about as well right here until the coffee shop in Manhattan restaurant and bar. She shuttered last year. It was known for mediocre food, self-consciously clubby. So she was working at a place like this, say young, urban, and professionally gorgeous. That was the expectation of the people who worked there, and probably the expectation of the people who moved in there. A trendy, upcoming, little place. So this thing continued. Again, there's all these fluff articles out here that try to defend and act as if she's standing up for the the upcoming career women and the upcoming political women, and that, she's an example. She's an example of what women need to be, an example of what the politicians. And again, a lot of you men who are quote unquote doing your own thing or stepping away or going away, from society, you are allowing these people to take over. Why aren't you stepping up and becoming political leaders, lawyers, judges, Congress people, and opposing these type of people? And again, there's a lot of shady business going on here. Again, with Twitter, we know that Twitter is extremely corrupt. They did control and manipulate the algorithm. Cortez is not that charismatic. She is inflammatory. She is able to use people's emotions and get people involved. And she can, accuse and say things that are absolutely incorrect and get away with it. And she promised people money. She promised the masses to steal from the rich and to give to the poor. Again, don't get me started again on Robin Hood, because Robin Hood was about getting taxes and giving people their taxes back from the government. It wasn't. Robin Hood is not a story about redistribution of wealth or stealing or taking from the wealthy. Again, you've been lied and you've been conditioned to. And again, I wanted to address this because a lot of you men out there think that Cortez, and you've been told that the story of Alexandria Cortez is a story from rags to riches. They would argue and try to present her as a classic story about being a bartender, not having a good job or not having a good family, and going out there and then being, misandry and being objectified, and she was, didn't get treated as well maybe as her colleagues. Of course, they don't like to realize that she wasn't as attractive or feminine or as friendly. And then she used social media to jump, to be in Congress. Of course, she isn't the only, she's not the only person to blame here. The people who voted for her are to blame as well. Why would you vote for somebody like this? I guess if you run on race and racism, yes, Cortez is racist, and you raise on, you want to promise people money and benefits and things that they didn't earn, and you pretend as if these people are perfect. We have this, generation of people who have never been told that they're wrong. They've never had to be responsible for themselves. And they want to disregard or tear apart anything and everything that they can. But let's continue on with this article. Again, that is from Jezebel.com, where they talked about her walking and quitting her job. And again, if you walk away from a job and a career, that kind of is supposed to reflect poorly upon you, depending on how you were treated. And your work performance. We as a society, there were people who voted for somebody, and I forget, I'm sure she's graduated by now, but at the time, was Cortez even a college graduate? And again, being a college graduate isn't much, unless you went into your engineering or you're into STEM and science and actually something professional. And a lot of these colleges are a joke. Having even a college degree doesn't mean much of anything. Actually, you're probably a lot of people, and again, it depends on the individual and how they apply, reading and logic and learning. But a lot of people are actually come out of colleges stupider or less educated than they can, before they went in. So they're more educated when they went in, more open-minded. They knew more information. More education. Yeah, colleges are making people stupider. Cortez is an example of, what social media, how it can dumb people down. Get people involved with emotions. Cortez can't win any debate. She's never won any debate. She's constantly been disproven. And she's actually lied. We're about to talk about fact checkers here. We're not going to focus on politics. But I hope that you as a man know that you other men, you watching my channel, you probably care about dating somebody who's intelligent, or somebody who is actually would possibly care about you or your life, and if you want a family, dating somebody who would actually care about your kids. Again, marriage is extremely dangerous. Don't do it unless you are extremely confident and you're involved with her family, and you at least have some method of at least at least attempt to have some consequences for her, where her family would possibly disown her, and that she actually cares about her family. At least have something that you could protect yourself with. But these people don't want women to have any consequences. They want to tear apart and steal and demand from the people who actually produce, from the people who are actually successful, from the people who are actually smart, the people who can actually debate. I decided then and there I wanted to be the person who ate steak, he said. They talk about these types of things, and they criticize wealth, and of course they love to change the narratives. If you're a man who eats meat, if you're a man who eats beef, that's enough for a lot of these modern feminists to hate you. Just because you eat beef or burgers as a man. That's enough for somebody like Cortez to probably hate you, if you eat beef fairly regularly. And of course, they like to distract you again with this narrative. These things that they talk about with Cortez, they love to distract you because they talk about her as, wanting to increase the minimum wage and fight for more quote unquote benefits, and somehow she understands what it's like to work in the public, when she only worked out there for like 1 year. And being a bar girl, she's not really even a real bartender. Being a bar girl is not a terribly demanding job. It's not terribly difficult. And actually, if you're an attractive bar girl, that's a pretty cushy job. And it might not pay the most in the world, but you're getting tips and privileges, and there's men asking you out and offering to pay you to be an escort. It's highly social. You meet lots of affluent people. Being a bar girl is an amazing job, especially for a woman, a young woman of lesser values, who's willing to put herself out there and do something to get that bag, if you know what I mean. So let's continue on with the next website, news agency, as they like to call themselves. They're not really much of any news. It's the Washington Post. Here they talk about Cortez and fact-checking. The first half of this article, or the big majority of this article, it really distracts you. It really distracts you from the whole issue. It's as if this video here, or this article that they wrote, is to distract you. It's really quite strange. At first, it talks about that she's a democratic socialist, which, yes, she is. She openly says that to her constituents, but then tries to defend herself, just like, Trudeau, who talked about the Great Reset. He can talk about that, trying to change and destroy our governments and our cultures and our economies. But if you address these things and you talk about them, then they try to act as if you are the person who's being antagonistic, that you are being problematic. And they try to put it in your face when you were just trying to discuss and trying to figure out what the problem even was. If you aren't celebrating or encouraging behind the scenes, manipulating things, in their favor to make the quote-unquote change that they want, if you're bringing debate out in the open, discussions, you might even be on their side. You might be classically democratic. You might be more than in the middle, or neutral, or whatever. If you're bringing debate and discussions out into the open where people can criticize or decide for themselves yes or no, if you're not using the right emotional language, you're assumed to be antagonistic or an enemy, or quote unquote problematic to people like this, or feminists like Cortez. And I bring this up because you need to, as a man, you need to start looking Two, who is popular. You don't understand the women around you, and then you start trying to date them, or you start trying to marry them, and you don't understand who they are. And often they will not tell you who they are. So you need to pay attention to what kind of music are they listening to? What are they reading? Who are their idols? Who are their inspiration? Who are leaders to them? If you're dating a feminist woman and she thinks Cortez, is kicking back against the patriarchy, she's a feminist. She thinks that socialism sounds like a good idea. We've never really done communism the right way before. And you're dating these type of people, or possibly wanting to marry them or have children with them. You need to avoid them for your own safety and the betterment of society. You need to leave these people alone. Stay away from them. And of course they would say like, "Oh yeah, you stay away from me," and they would throw a bunch of insults at you. But there's people out there, even when Cortez becomes 35 or 40, because she has position or some affluence or some power, there's still really weak men who would throw themselves at Acasio Cortez, even when she's 35 and 40. That's how pathetic a lot of you men out there are. That's how pathetic a lot of you guys are, that you would try to date somebody like this. But again, let's get back to this fact-checking thing. Again, you as a man, all these organizations, all these social media, they're using you. They're manipulating you with what you say, with what becomes popular and what doesn't become popular. And Cortez has openly lied and made accusations with really little to no foundation or basis in lots of ways. And if you don't know what the fact-checking was, it first started in a really big way through Facebook, because Hillary Clinton wanted it. It was directly connected. Again, here at the Daddy Dating Advice channel, I know facts. I pay attention. I'm not blind. I'm not stupid. And people don't bother to tell you these things anymore. But we got this whole government government invasion and almost takeover of the internet for quote-unquote fact-checking. And then it went to Twitter, and it went to multiple places, Instagram, and all these places. They'll push you down because you said something that it didn't even have to contradict, something that was different, or something that it wasn't exactly what the news said, or they didn't like it. They could slow it down. They essentially got to say, what was important or what was good. How about you start, if you're in public school or in college, how about you start fact-checking your professors? If they give you a test, correct the question. If they give you an assertion or a premise, how about you start, correcting your professors? I kind of did that at high school one time, and it was really funny to see. It was just on one question, and they wrote it really poorly. And I told them, if this is your question, then it's this answer, and if this was your intent or your question, then I would give this answer. And the professor or the teacher thought that was very annoying. You as men need to start standing up. I don't see enough of you standing up. Even though Cortez is a terrible person, I would never want to date such a person. She's antagonistic. These people are terrible and loud. Destructive. They're liars and they're cheaters. And they try to tear apart anything that's actually tries to protect people. Like, they want to get rid of ICE, an organization that tries to get rid of really dangerous people. And again, ICE is not strong enough. It's not really getting rid of the people who invade this country and just are also destroying our economy and hurting our people and hurting our citizens. And even besides the economic effects of things like this, there's also the moral, implications. How are you as an American citizen not demoralized by people invading your country? And then when these invaders of your country have children on your soil, they're considered citizens. And even before they have a child on your soil and in your land, they're given all these benefits. There's people who have sanctuary cities. There's people who defend them and protect them, give them fake social security cards. And they have more protections and more benefits, more advantages than you probably do. They have more loans available to them to start up businesses than you do. They get more handouts and, more social services than you do. More tax dollars are spent on them. But again, all this whole article is kind of a distraction. It really doesn't get to the point until the very end. They're like, oh, I guess we'll actually include some of the things that Alexandria Cortez lied about. It's the middle of this article, the biggest part of it, is all distraction. It doesn't really tell you much about any of the facts. But let me read here. They say, because the Constitution permits such a tax, it's not our role to forbid it or to pass upon its wisdom or fairness. So I hope that you see that, they don't care about... You see that Cortez was arguing that how the taxes should be applied and who gets the tax benefits. You see, the taxes shouldn't exist in the first place, many of these taxes and many of these regulations. But Cortez argues that certain minorities or certain quote-unquote people who are disadvantaged should be given certain advantages. And they want to use these acts and these laws that have already been passed to be a form of their socialism to redistribute wealth, and taxes, and how taxations are taken, and who is given the benefits through government programs, and how that is applied. I hope that you understand what's going on here. And then, of course, it talks about, ironically, Obama administration passed this law, and they claimed that's not even a tax. A lot of the times they claim that these things aren't even taxes when they are taxes. Just like with feminism, they claim that they are the victims when they are the ones taking advantage of men. Free meals, free parties, free handouts. Men have to pay for having fun with women. I thought this was about equality, 50-50. You don't see women out here fighting against, women who are selling themselves. Men having to pay for relationships. Men still have to pay for everything. They still have to buy women gifts and money and pay for them to put out. And to be escorts. And to be party girls. And to be in the strip clubs and everything else. Men are still paying for all of this. I don't see women fighting for any actual equality out here. I don't see any equality. I don't see women arguing against any of their benefits. The women out here who still expect chivalry, open doors, free food, free dinners, all these types of benefits, where they rob you if you get divorced. They rob you of almost everything. But, I'm not going to focus on the politics and the things that Alexandria Cortez said that's wrong. Unemployment is low because everybody has 2 jobs, and the complexities of some of these types of things. Like, Cortez, one of the things that people freaked out about is she said that ICE has a quota, as in they're motivated or possibly they're getting paid, or they have a requirement to, take a certain amount of people. Which was a real distraction because ICE never did enough. Again, we have more people coming into the country, or were coming into the country, and really people who are invaders are still illegal born into the country. The problem was not being fixed and not enough was being done. But again, she wanted to create this narrative, trying to tear apart the funding and the organization and the power that ICE had. And again, I bring this up because you as a man, a lot of you men don't understand the complexities of this issue. Because in a way, an economy is your lifeblood. You work and build up an economy, providing a service or a product, something somebody wants for a fair exchange. Of course, they hate capitalism. They think that they should decide, you know, how much things cost, who gets to provide, what, who gets things, who doesn't get things, and they have the power and influence to control how much of that is produced and how much of that is sold, and again, who gets it and who doesn't get it. And they think that's morally good. And again, these things might be way over your head. This might be a little bit too complex. Again, I've tried to be as simple as possible here. Break it down in the simplest terms possible so you start to grasp. If you think this is complicated, you haven't even start to touch the actual economics and the actual cause and effects and the influences of these things. These things can get pretty deep. But what you need to know is this: if a woman bothers to be this politically active, if a woman bothers to call herself a feminist, if a woman bothers to, again, if a lot of these pretty women, this old stereotype of dumb blondes is true. The more attractive a woman is, the less educated she has to be, the less smart she has to be. She doesn't have to debate. She doesn't have to be friendly. She might be. She could be whatever she wants to be. But again, the more pretty you are and the more attractive you are, you don't have to perform at the same level. People will assume that you're more intelligent or that you're smarter or that you're more creative, and people will want to promote and support you, the more depending on how attractive you are. So how people like Alexandria Cortez, instead of having beauty, because again, she could not compete with the other bar girls and the other waitresses. You have to go to politics and claim victimization. In the past, somebody like Alexandra Cortez, you know, she wouldn't get much of anywhere because people aren't going to vote for somebody who wants to redistribute and steal your wealth and destroy the economy, and doesn't care about personal accountability and responsibility, and is an enemy of capitalism and freedom, an enemy of almost everything that America ever was and ever wanted to be and should be. And again, if a woman is politically active enough to support Cortez or say that, oh, I just agree with that, or bother to even pay attention to it, even on a surface level, even if this woman or this person that on a surface level doesn't really understand anything about what Cortez says, or some leftist says, or Bernie Sanders voter or whatever, if they bother enough to even pay attention to this on a very surface level, you probably shouldn't date them. You probably shouldn't have anything to do with them. And again, we need to have this social change, because women openly, again, a lot of them lie because they'd still date a redneck because who had a six pack. These women would objectify him though. But you need to be able to walk away. A lot of these feminist women, they'll objectify you or reject you, and again, they're far pickier. We have all these studies with social dating apps and through Tinder and all this information. Women are far more picky, and they're also far more willing to cheat. And if she has really bad ideas and really bad principles, why are you as a man trying to kowtow? Why are you trying to figure out how to be a pickup artist, or figure out how to be a seducer? Or why are you trying to figure out how to be, some suave guy who sweeps women off their feet or convinces them, these types of women? If you are wealthy enough, and if you're an attractive enough man, you should be trying to date younger women. And, and if you're looking for a more long-term relationship, again, you should be trying to date a younger woman who doesn't want to go to college, who openly rejects feminism, a woman who openly rejects modernist beliefs openly. And this is difficult. There's not a lot of them who openly are, and the ones who are like this, they're very afraid. Because usually women identify with or fall into the major culture, or the culture, the strongest culture. It's not in their character to want to risk their social status a lot of the times, and risk their livelihood, and reduce their number of dating partners because they identify in a political way. A woman who actually wants children, you know, she's a little bit she's willing to date a man or be a little bit more malleable to his political ideas or his feelings, or it's a lot of these women are scared, and they're constantly shamed and targeted as pick me girls. And if you're on the internet, and if you're pretty, and if you're feminine, and if you are actually out here looking for a man to date or possibly marry, you are targeted and you are shamed openly. I have seen this all over the internet and all over TikTok. If you don't know, if you're not paying attention, I guess you need to open your eyes and actually start understanding a little bit more of our current social culture, and a little bit more of the social dynamics that are going on. So if you are a feminine woman who actually wants to marry or date or possibly have children, who's actually, doesn't care that much about politics, you as a woman out there are being shamed. Of course, they shame traditional women, even if you're happy. Even if you're a woman who is a feminist, but you want to stay home with the kids, you can still be a feminist, and they'll still shame you. But if you're a woman out here, and you're a traditional woman, and you're looking for a traditional man, and especially if you're white, looking for a white man, you're just evil to these types of people. They want to steal your wealth. Again, they don't go to foreign countries. They don't go to Africa where there's kings and there's tribal leaders. They don't go to Polynesian islands and find some tribal leader and tell them that they need to step down from their position of power. Imagine if you as a white person went to a foreign country and you said that I am now the minority. You have to give me a house. You have to give me loans, privileges, benefits. And you have to treat me in all these special ways. And again, and I also, if you reject me, me in dating and all this, you're a problem, and I get to shame you and demand upon you, and et cetera, et cetera. Other nations don't tolerate this. They don't accept this. I've seen black or African Americans, whatever you're supposed to call them, go to Japan. And Japan, there is a bit, it's complicated. They do have a culture of distrusting, certain people. They do isolate themselves, but they treat all people like that. It's not just against blacks, but again, people, that's somebody who's very foreign. There is supposed to be a group of people who identify and support each other. Should people be more open-minded? Perhaps. Should people look beyond skin color? Yes. You should see somebody's character and who they are beyond their skin color. Am I calling Japan racist? No. They're not intentionally trying to exclude people of other races, but they have a strong culture. They have a lifestyle, and they have traditions, and people and different cultures out there, good nations, they have, something that they believe in, something that they care about. And you stepping out there and thinking that you should get special treatment or special, acknowledged that, of you, maybe your victimhood may be in the past. Again, these are the same types of people who ignore and mock you for identifying or suggesting of other races and other people, yes, who have been slaves throughout history. And there's been all kinds of different people who have done slavery. And don't even get me started about Africa and the Berbers, I believe it is, or the whatever you call them, and who actually did the traffic, and the Muslims and all that was involved. Don't even get me started. But people don't care about history. Alexandria Cortez does not care about actual history. She doesn't care about the facts. She doesn't care about actual justice. You know, she does. I've never actually seen her sit down or talk about how, what her goals actually are, how she actually wants to help people. You know, when she talks about the things she talks about, actually don't really help people. Even the people that she supposedly defends or supports, giving them stealing money from other people, are having a cultural change where you put the people you think should have power. That's not really fixing, really fixing an issue or fixing a situation. You're just becoming the next oppressor. You know, again, capitalism and freedom is the most important thing. And the people who are successful, the people who provide the best products, are the best services, and are the smartest, and and give people what they want, are the types of things and the people who should and should succeed. A lot of these women, even if they don't act like it, even if they don't say it, and this is why I'm making this video for you men. A lot of these women are much more politically active than you think. I've met shy women. I've met women who have said that they were feminine. I've met women who they still actually want to get married, and they're looking for marriage, but they still ultimately feel like they're victims, and they always will feel like they're victims, no matter how much you love and how much you give, how much you capitulate, how hard you work for them. It doesn't matter if you make a joke that they don't understand, or if you say something that they're going to assume that you're an ism or a racist. If you make a joke that they don't understand, they ultimately have this chip on their shoulder, and it's because they were raised in public schools and in high schools and even in in daycares when they were little. They were targeted by these feminists and these essentially socialists or worse. They were told to have these types of beliefs, and it ultimately is their frame of mind. And the movies that they watched and the things that they watched gave them this worldview or this identity, this victimhood mentality. You as a man need to be looking for these types of people. Of course, I think that you should try to help these people as much as you can in a genuine way. But it's very difficult to try to help somebody because, again, they ultimately have to choose to change themselves. Feminist women have to decide to change themselves. You can't change them. You can't convince them, no matter how many facts you have, no matter, and again, this is a little, understanding this history and understanding these things. Again, just yesterday, I did an article about the history of feminism. It was an article written by feminists. It was factual. It was historical. It was them actually exposing themselves, which they rarely do. And I was very nice about it. But some women, just like on a John Likas, episode, has the audacity to talk about, her feelings and talk about, what she thinks feminism is. She thinks feminism is just about having a job. Her as a woman getting a good job or having the job that she wants. She doesn't care about, the history of feminism and what its motivations were in the past. She doesn't recognize the current movement that feminism is. It's about multigenderism. It's about trans. That's what feminism is today. But they can pick and choose whatever they want out of feminism and then continue to fight and push for feminism. And they don't care about the consequences. And they don't care about the actual history. Again, even women's having the right to vote. Women had the right to vote back in the day. As again, they some of the biggest lies that you've ever been told. It was just culturally not normal. Were there laws on the table to say that women could not vote? No. There's a few examples and a few things that might have come close. But the Constitution did not say that women could not vote, or that minorities could not vote, or blacks could not vote. Yeah, there were examples of where there were laws of certain states that were racist, yes. And there were certain laws that were sexist, yes. And certain people who were, yes. Certain people were racist and sexist, yes. I acknowledge that. But was the Constitution and was our nation as a whole, on a legal basis, did it exclude women or anybody else from voting? No, the Constitution didn't. So we had a social issue, not a legal issue. But again, they love to move the goalpost, and they love to lie to you about that narrative, so then they can take legal action and take legal powers for their own selves and for their own benefits over you. So they can have power on you. That's what this is all about. And I bring this up again because Cortez openly lied about the January 6th thing. She wasn't there. She wasn't threatened. And there's people still out here who will continue her narrative and still think or believe that she was somehow under threat. And again, when the whole thing was an inside job from the FBI and the CIA, and these people are going to continue on with these types of narratives. And I bring all this up because you as a man need to, stand up for what you believe in, but also start, choosing who you will date and not date. Again, a lot of people are going to make it out that it should be normal for you to want to date 30-year-old college business women who believe in my education, my college education, that they think that they're so smarter than you. They're so much smarter that that they believe that they're so highly educated. They believe that they're of a higher social status than you. They think that they're more important than you. Well, a lot of the times they have had no responsibilities and no consequences put upon them. All Cortez had to do was serve drinks and bring them, she probably didn't have to mix very many drinks. And she just had to go and bring people drinks at a bar. And then she talked with and got connections with powerful people like Bernie Sanders. Why are you as men not trying to have your own success story? As much as Cortez she's crazy, she is. She's wrong, yes, she's wrong in almost all of her examples. Why aren't you as men trying to have your own successes? And speak out? I don't see enough of you men speaking out. I don't see enough of you men trying to become the next success story. I don't see a lot of success stories as men. And I know some of them do exist, but they hide them. Because they want to control the narrative. They want to see more women become politically active and control and to lie and to become feminist and to become, this new age of quote-unquote Democrats. And again, Republicans are a problem. I'm not a Republican. Republicans often are rhinos and liars. They often don't support, protect, or help people in the right ways. Since when have you seen Republicans actually talk about decreasing taxes and removing regulations and protecting people's rights? Even the NRA capitulates a lot, removing bump stocks and the like. But the biggest thing I want you to know as a man watching this video, in this video, I'm not trying to make the quote-unquote men in general or whatever, more quote-unquote conservative or whatever it might be. I'm trying to help you to understand what our current social dynamic is. There's people out here with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez who think that she is a example, a pillar, a beacon of light, something inspirational, something beautiful, a motivational story to tell daughters and to tell people at high school and to tell your college students that they can get on Twitter and they can talk about, you know, people who have lesser money or less position or less status, and that, you know, and that you have to fight for the little guy when they want to control the government and control economies and disrupt, you know, capitalism and destroy capitalism, which gives people less money. It reduces people's livelihoods. It hurts everybody. And again, why I talk about this, this is more of a channel about dating, and you know, it's more about dating. It's more about, you know, you having experiences and having success, your own success. But if you are not out here openly trying to support basic freedoms and a basic, you know, basic economic principles, then in the future, what's to stop these feminist people from saying that, you know, men have an extra tax upon them, or men, you're not allowed to have a, you know, you aren't supposed to be, you're not allowed to be so successful in a certain ways, or we're going to limit you or restrict men in certain ways. What's to say that they're not going to do this and do these kinds of things? And they already have all their programs. They can do it indirectly. They can give all the tax benefits to all these women's programs and hand out all this money towards women so they can go get into college and all these programs and all these benefits. But you as a man, what are you gonna do to stand up and to change these problems and to fix these problems and to produce the products that you actually like and the things that you believe in? What are you gonna do? Hope that then I make this to inspire you, because you as a man can make a successful business. You still can achieve. You still can, you know, have a beautiful life and you know, achieve and produce and give and make the world a better place, you know, with your labor. You don't have to going and working for a corporate job, going to work at McDonald's or whatever it might be is not the American dream. The American dream is about making small individual businesses, mom and pop shops. They might become big. You might become really successful. But it's the American dream is not going to work at a cubicle or a corporate office or flipping burgers and making somebody else wealthy and you know, doing something that you hate. That's not the American dream. Our economies has been crushed under, you know, the COOF regulations and these policies and the government controls and these regulations and affirmative action and minimum wage and tons of things that the government has done. Our economies have been crushed. Arguably, our economies don't even exist at all anymore. They don't even exist. And these same people already have implemented universal health care. Now they want to control all the lending. They want to control all these financial institutions. They already control education. Once they have the financial institutions, which they pretty much already do, they have complete control. They have control over everything. And if they get rid of your your rights to free speech and your rights to self-defense and tools of, you know, tools of self-defense and boomsticks and those types of objects, then we're already there. We're already at socialism. We're almost already there. And I bring this up because you as men, you won't have the freedoms to be happy. You won't have the freedoms to succeed. You won't have the careers and the jobs and the dating opportunities, and you'll be treated even far worse under socialism. You know, you won't be able to achieve, no matter how strong you are, no matter how talented you are, no matter how educated you are. You know, you won't be able to succeed. You won't be able to have, you know, gain more money or more affluence or more position. And what does that do for the dating, you know, for the dating market or it is a market. And that's why it's called a dating market. I hope that you understand that as well. What is that? What you know? As we continue on with this terrible social dynamic and financial dynamic and cultural dynamics, as these types of things continue to get worse, how is that going to affect you as a man? What are you going to do? Well, I'm going to be making videos about where, again, some more videos about where you can find good women, how you can approach them, how to talk with them, and where you can go. But I'm going to wrap up this video and tell you again, men, that you need to start being more picky. If you find a feminist and she's actively political and she's actively a feminist, it doesn't matter if she's attractive. It doesn't even matter if she likes you. Again, say no. Again, this is hard because a lot of you men out here don't have a lot of experiences, and you jump at the opportunity, especially after all these lockdowns and all these things. You would jump at the opportunity to date a feminist woman. It doesn't matter. You probably would never ask, and you have those rose-tinted glasses. You have, you're willing to hit or just do about anything. And you aren't looking to figure out if she's a feminist, or you don't care. I've seen you guys out here. You laugh about it. You'll say, "Oh, she's bad," or "Oh, she just got an attitude," and you'll think and you'll pretend as if it's cute or something when she's an angry, bitter, even violent feminist. You men need to be out here start saying no, and actually, find actually feminine, actually traditional women, and have relationships or possibly marry them. And they're not easy to find. There's not that many of them in America anymore. You might need to go international. You might need to, become wealthier, become more affluent. Because you aren't that noticeable. You're not popular enough, and you can't, it's kind of hard for you to have any type of control or any type of affluence. Again, you as a man were never taught these lessons by your fathers or by your, parents or by anybody that you believed in. You weren't taught any real, any true lessons. You weren't told to look for danger signs and to be picky and all these dangers that are out there for you or against you. And that's what my channel's about, to help you to be safe and successful and to be happy. So I hope that this was another lesson that was beneficial to you, that's helpful to you, and that, is going to shape and help the world. This is another video that deserves to be another million-view video. This video is just as good, if not better, than almost any content that I've ever seen on YouTube. This is better than anything that I ever hear or that I ever say. Yes, this is more of a podcast. Yes, this is more of a discussion, and I do want your comments and your thoughts and what you feel down below. Let me know what you think. Would you date a feminist? Would you date Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? What would you do about, the times that she has openly lied? What would you do about her little story that she believes that, she was objectified? And that she would try to pretend and argue that women aren't given benefits and privileges because of their beauty. What would you say to things like that? What would you say to, her thinking that little minority groups aren't given enough benefits and privileges and enough money, and that we need to destroy the rich, that we need to destroy and remove or control the successful people? The people who are structural, the people who built this nation, the people who provide you with everyday products and things that you need. These people want power. They want influence and affluence. They're not arguing for, fair pay and discussing, the actual economics of how much jobs should pay or shouldn't pay. They're not promoting, freedoms in any way. They never talk about competition. These people don't like competition and innovation. We're supposed to have all these different businesses that are competing with one another. The people who have the good ideas and give people what they want or have the best processes and are the people who are the most efficient or smart are supposed to, have the better products, and they're supposed to eventually succeed. I don't see much competition in America anymore. I don't see different products competing much with each other, where people decide, oh, this is higher quality, or this gives me a feature that I like, or this feels good, or does something that I like the packaging, or whatever it might be. I don't see a lot of competition anymore. I don't see new products competing with each other. I don't see new innovations. I don't see a lot of new technologies, honestly. I know that there's some innovations in the world of science because they're the ones behind, a lot of science and engineering. They're messing with DNAs and these transgender surgeries. These are all science experiments for them. That's not the same thing. That's not what we're talking about. I'm talking about actually in the free market, what people actually want, what people actually like, what individuals, normal people are actually buying. I don't see a lot of new companies anymore. I don't see a lot of new innovation. I think economies all around the world are being crushed, and all of our governments are in huge amounts of debt. And people want to focus on. I'll wrap this video up. I'm getting a little bit into a deeper topic here. I think that government and politicians and leaders haven't either paid off, or they're so ideologically crazy that we have all these nations with trillions of dollars of debt beyond what they can pay back, and the goal is just like mutually assured destruction. When one nation falls, we're all going to fall, and all these governments and all these economies are going to crash. And then the New World Order, or the United Nations and this new government they're going to step up and say that we are the solution. We're going to make things work. We know better, what's best for your nation, for your economies, for your lifestyles, and for your peoples. They're going to get everybody involved. And that's how we're going to get this new world order that they all want and that they've been talking about for generations. And don't pretend like all this is, don't lie to yourself and act like this type of stuff doesn't exist. All these people have openly talked about it. They've openly talked about the Great Reset. They've talked about all these types of things. The feminists are just a part of it. They're just a part of this whole thing. People don't even know what women are. The feminists can't even tell you what a woman is. Feminism doesn't even care about women anymore. They actually hurt women. These trans athletes and all this stuff, all these things, they have more a position, more power than women do. All these things are topsy-turvy. All these things are crazy. And I don't see people speaking out about any of this. I don't see people speaking out and encouraging people to change or to do something. It's like we're all hanging on for dear life and we're all scared out of our minds. Even if you feel powerless, even if you see all these things, all these terrible dangers on the horizon, I see these things, and I see these powerful and corrupt people. Use the power and the affluence that you do have in your own life. Say no. Say no to the things that don't work, and say yes to the things that you do like and that you do love and that are important to you. Say no to the feminist. If we could get a lot of men just saying no to the feminist, not dating them, not marrying them, not giving them privileges and powers, that would, change a lot. If young men, even the attractive, even the rich young men, from rich families or whatever, were rejecting women. I'm talking about like even in high school and middle school. Some of you, that's unbelievable. Some of that's already starting to happen. Men see that relationships and dating is nothing but a loss for them. They can be accused of anything and everything. Even 30, 40, 50 years later, a woman can accuse them of anything and destroy their career and their status and their livelihoods. Why would you want to date any woman if you can lose everything that you've built up your entire life just for 5 or 10 minutes of fun? Especially with a lot of these women who openly hate you. And if you're not of a certain race, then they think you're the enemy. And I mean, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Why do you want to why do you want to mess with these people? There's too much risk for far too little reward. You know, it needs to get to the point where young boys are just rejecting women because most of these women, even young women, are being conditioned and told to be feminists. Their mothers, their daughters, their aunts, their grandmothers, their daycares, the public school education system is training all of these women to be feminist. You fathers are kicked out of the households, or you are capitulating to a feminist wife. You are not, educating your daughters against feminism. You're not telling your sons to defend themselves and to save themselves and to protect themselves. So, what do you expect? And again, I bring all this up because a lot of people think it's shocking that Acasio Cortez even became popular. Well, go on TikTok. Look at who is getting popular on TikTok. Bratty, loud, demanding, uneducated people who are not held accountable. They're not debated. They're not disagreed with. They're told that they're perfect. And they're told that they're being brave and stunning and amazing and the bestest ever if they spread or share or express a feminist narrative or something that, hates white people or hates men or hates capitalism. And again, this ultimately boils down to culture. Individuals create culture. A culture is a collective thing. A culture is a social thing. But for some reason, the freedom-minded people, they, I understand. I do believe that, you should be out there just working and achieving. And the social dynamics of things shouldn't matter as much. But there's a lot of people out there who are weak. And they want friendship. And they want they want to fit into a group mentality. Some people want to be a part of a mob. And you aren't out there, being social or spreading your ideas and spreading your beliefs. But they are. They're motivating people to march and to destroy and to do quote-unquote peaceful protest and much more. So, who's influencing your kids in public schools and daycare centers and colleges? Who's had control of the minds of the younger generation for the last 30, 40, 50 years? It's not freedom-minded people. It's not people who believe in capitalism. It's not people who believe in freedom and justice and law. Most of these people have never heard anything. Ocasio-Cortez doesn't know a darn thing about the Constitution. Doesn't know a darn thing about actual real American history. And they don't care about those things because it doesn't give them the benefits and the privileges and, doesn't fit into their worldview and the narrative that they want to present and the change that they want to make and the power that they want to have. Make no mistake. You might be dating somebody you might even think that she's shy. She might not even be a loud feminist. She might not even be demanding. She might not even be in your face. She might not have might not have short hair. She might not have even dyed her hair. She might even still shave her armpits. That was a topic of discussion that was ridiculous. Anyways, you might find somebody that you actually think is fairly feminine. but she's going to be, most of the time, influenced or believe some of these things. Again, I bring all this up because you can't get married because of these evil laws that are against you. Literally, the government is ready and prepared. If you as a man get married, she can do it. She can steal everything from you. The house, the car, the kids, the dog, inheritance, your money. She can steal everything. And if she's a feminist, she's going to think that you're an oppressor from day one. From day one, she's going to be looking for the times where you made a mistake, or where you were quote unquote a pig, or you quote unquote didn't give her quote unquote what she wanted. Whatever it might be, whatever expectation that she has, she's going to justify it or make it even more extreme, or mix it all up, with her demands and her little pretty princess complex. She's going to mix it all up with feminism in there in a blender. And a lot of you men date and marry and mess with and talk to extremely toxic women. So what is this video about? It's not really about the politics. It's not really about anything like that. It's about, would you date Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? I want to know. I know some of you men would. You would do it for the social status. You would do it for the money. Some of you men think that Ocasio-Cortez is attractive. She's not. She's average. Maybe a little bit above average. She's not stunning. She's not pretty. She's not. Does she have a good personality? No. Does she have a feminine voice? No. Is she particularly smart? No. Does she like or care about children? No. And some people might even want to debate me on that. If she waits till 30 or 35 to try to have a child, she doesn't really care about children. And she doesn't care about the health of that child, etc., etc. Anyways. Do you have a woman here who is halfway decent or halfway reasonable? No. You don't. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez should be completely, check all the wrong boxes. She should get a big X, a big F minus from the Daddy Dating channel. She's a big F minus. But let me know, would you date her? Would you date her? What do you think? What are your requirements? And again, some of y'all think that I've been extremely demanding. Some of y'all, some feminists are going to act as if I'm extremely conservative or something. I'm not. I'm not even a Republican. I hate both Republicans and Democrats. You're both wrong. And I'm not being demanding here. I'm asking for the bare minimum. I'm asking for little to nothing. You as a man can't even find a smiling, friendly, fairly intelligent, fairly kind woman who actually would like to have a family and actually would like to be friendly and would like to have a family, before the age of 25 or even before college. Because a real woman, especially if she's attractive, she doesn't really need to go to college. And if she does go to college while she's having a child or having a family or while she's looking for Mr. Right, she can get a college degree online. Or she can just, in reality, a lot of jobs don't require college degrees and really shouldn't have college degrees require them. If Alexandria Cortez wanted to stand up for something decent, why isn't she standing up against this college, institutionally controlled or manipulated type of culture? With all these types of jobs, isn't there on-site training? If you want to go to get a job, even if it's fairly technical, why aren't they willing to train you and educate you You know, and why do we have to go through this this system that is completely weak? I mean, it's completely pathetic. It's ineffective, and it doesn't even produce people. I mean, it's not like you get a college degree. It's not like it's a certification that you're actually you can actually succeed. That there's any indication that you're actually good at going to be good in your field. That you actually have any skill or ability to actually work in your workplace. Getting a college degree means little to nothing. It means that you've been willing to jump through hoops. You can memorize a few things, and that you might understand a few basic principles regarding whatever topic your college degree is in. And it actually proves a lot of the times that that you might even be dumb because you are willing to agree with or go through this whole program that you were, and that includes myself, yes. I was stupid to want to, capitulate and to try to, work with college administrators and college leaders and deans and all these people who don't care about the facts, who don't actually care about performance, who don't actually understand the market or the economy or what people want, as you try to get out there in the market and get a job. Most of these colleges have little to absolutely no connections or education in regarding to being hired. You simply graduate and you're simply kicked out of the door, and you have no skills and no abilities. And these you know these businesses, there's they don't have a lot of methodologies to evaluate you or to prove that you know what you know or that you would be a good fit for them. It's all a mess. Why aren't we talking about real issues? I mean, and that's just one issue. That's not even a legal issue. That's just a social, educational, hiring type of thing. So I'll wrap this up here. I'll leave this video with you. I hope that this was a informative video straight from the heart. Again, this is more of a podcast. I don't do a ton of editing into these videos. Perhaps I could. I have done videos where I've done 7 to 10 hours of editing, and I don't think it's worth my time. If I sit down here in one day and that's an hour or 2 hours long, and I do 4 or 5 videos for you a week, that's 4 to 5, 6, 7 hours a week or more of work. And that doesn't even include, I don't really script these, but the preparation and the thought and the research and the articles that I have to look up and the things I have to read to prepare myself to make these types of videos for you. So I hope that you do like this video and all the effort I put into this. And let me know what you think down below. And of course, give me a good old like or even a dislike. If you dislike this video, let me know why you dislike it. And don't just accuse me of something. Don't repeat something that's stupid. Don't give me some talking point. Explain yourself if you disagree, and tell me why. And I've talked to lots of little feminists all over the internet, and they can't debate, or they just don't care to debate. I'd like to maybe meet one who can actually debate. Acasio Cortez can't debate. Every single time she's opened her loud mouth, she's been proven wrong. Just like all these feminists who scream and freak out about the pay gap. The pay gap has been disproven hundreds of times. Many times. It's a waste of time to disprove the wage gap again. Because it's a lie. And you know it's a lie. So let's continue, my friends. Have a beautiful day. Have a beautiful weekend, or wherever you're watching. Let me know where you're watching down below. I hope that I am reaching an international audience, and I know that I'm starting to reach some of the younger men out there. I had somebody comment on one of my videos just the other day that they were 14 years old, and they didn't know exactly what was going on, and they'd like to know a little bit more. I hope that I do reach you men out there, you young men who are not being raised by fathers, who are not being taught, who are not being educated, your fathers who don't bother to tell you anything about dating, your fathers who don't bother to tell you anything about achieving your goals or your dreams, having a successful job, building up an actual career, succeeding in life. I hope that I can at least be a little bit of a father figure to help you. Because I wish that I had a father out here when I was 14. When I was 14, if I was 14 years old, I wish somebody would have set me down and told me about feminism and how this was changing culture, changing our society, the expectations and the demands that were going on, the dangers that are going on, divorce courts, how you will lose almost everything against, again, 60% or more of marriages are ending in divorce, 50 to 60% at least. In some areas, it's 70% or more of marriages are going to get divorced. And then the rest of the marriages are unhappy marriages, or the people are separated, or they're marriages of convenience just for the kids' sake. They don't even like each other anymore. And you men are capitulating. The women don't do anything that you want for you. They don't put out for you in marriage. And all these little games and all these things in the world. It would have been nice if, your fathers would sit you down and tell you about how to protect yourself, legally from lawsuits, how to protect yourself. And these are some of the things I'm going to be talking about in the future on my channel. How to, set up a prenuptial agreement if you do decide to get married or have any relationship with a woman, to protect yourself legally. Most men have no idea to do this, or to think about this, or to do this. You didn't know anything about investing, anything about the stock market as a kid. You didn't know anything about finances. You didn't know anything about, a lot of you guys might not even want to go to, you might want to work with your hands. You didn't know anything about trade jobs, becoming mechanics and all these other types of jobs that are out there. There are some trade jobs, plumbers, construction workers. You didn't even know this was an option. I didn't know it was an option. So how many of you men out there are going to step up like me and try to help other men and help people who are actually disadvantaged? Yes, men are the disadvantaged out here. Mothers sit down their little daughters and tell them how to be good little feminists, and all their friends and their aunts and their grandmothers. But you as a man, you as a little boy, anytime that you succeed, anytime that you want to be a leader, anytime that you have any type of risk taking, anytime that you work hard, anytime you lift a tool or do something that might be a little bit dangerous, you as a man, or you as a young little boy, especially these days, are told no. I have seen over and over where little boys just want to run. They just want to exercise. The school systems do not provide for men to learn, by sight, by what they see and what they can do with their hands. And even, public schools don't even allow kids to exercise anymore. And young mothers think the rowdiness and the energy and the excitement of little boys is problematic. You're supposed to be some little docile girl who always wants to sit in her room and read a book on how to become a little feminist. That if there's something wrong with men who want to go out there and run around and lift and explore, and maybe even, build some things, or maybe even break some things as a little boy, going outside and maybe exploring something or doing something, building something, having basic little skills like, building a fire, being able to cook, like basic camping skills. Like little boys need to understand how to, work with their hands and see things and experience things. But you as men and boys, you've been discouraged, you've been discouraged from doing and seeing and achieving your whole entire life. We have programs like No Child Left Behind, where if you're smart, they don't encourage the class to become smarter. Just like our attitude against monopolies, like where one business is achieving and more successful than the rest because they have the best practices and they're the smartest. And they have the best processes and the best people working for them. They're the most talented of the bunch. If you are smarter, you're supposed to think that there's something wrong with you. That that's not fair. That there's a disparity. That we have to dumb down the class so, the other kids, their grades aren't so bad, or they don't feel so bad about themselves. We're not encouraging the smartest or the most educated or the most successful of people. We're not encouraging people in our society who have the highest of IQs. We're encouraging people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez who want to speak about the masses. Again, America is about the individual. It's about the individual freedom and the individual liberties and their freedom to, have a pursuit of happiness. It's not about the collective. It's not about what is the social or social. It's not about socialism. America is the complete opposite. It's about the individual. It's about capitalism. It's about freedom. The majority, or the demands and the voices of the masses, don't get to determine what you think and how you live, and what you get to do and where you get to go and what you get to say. And if you get to defend that your property or your life or your family, etc., etc. It's about time that you as men start standing up for basic human principles. Basic human principles. How about it, man? How about you stand up? I'll see you soon in the next video. Please like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. I'll see you in the next video. I love you. I wish you the best. And to the young men watching my channel, that's a dream that I had to help some of you men, at least save a few lives and help a few men out there. Let me know where you are, where you're from. And let me know how I can help you. I want to do more to help you. I'll see you soon. Be safe out there. Bye.